Hey YouTube, Matty Day 12, Team JMT, coming to you guys with my deck list for Nationals. But first, I want to give a big shout out to a buddy of mine from the Evansville, Indiana area, RJ Slaughter. I think Konami has him listed as Richard Slaughter the second or third, maybe. But yeah, he made top 64 with windups at National there at Nationals there at Columbus, the WCQ. Really proud of him. Did really good. He played excellent all weekend. But yeah, so there you go, RJ. Big shout out to you. Congrats. So my deck. What did I play? I played Chaos Stun. I don't guess that really surprised many of you guys. I had some unusual techs in my deck, mainly because here at my locals, a lot of people were side decking into D-Fissure and side decking into like Macrocosmos and stuff, and that was hurting me a little bit, making my my extra Chaos monsters, my sorcerers, not nearly as good, which meant some of the other monsters that I was running weren't as good because they were basically ran as additional light and dark targets, and if they're not in the graveyard, then they're not targets. So I wanted to change some stuff up because I knew that, you know, Rabbit would be main decking macro, and I wanted my plays to still be live as possible. So one of the things that I tried to be just a bit different was I was already running Lances, and basically taking out the extra Chaos monsters and taking out some of my extra targets left 4 open spots. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do with those spots. And like I said, I was already running Lances to help my monsters stick to the field and to help win battles. So the wheels started turning on what could I play that would win, that would benefit from winning battles and could help me in that aspect. So I figured I would run 3 Jurrac Guaiba and a Velo. When he destroys something by battle, I get to summon another one, or another Jurrac with 1700 attack. So basically I can grab Velo or another Guaiba, which gives me the chance to exceed. I can then go into Laggia or Dolkka with my 2 dinosaurs. Now some people may be saying, Velo, why are you going to run Velo? Well, what Velo does is it's kind of like Mystic Tomato. If it's in attack position and it gets ran over and destroyed by battle, I get to then summon a Guaiba to the field. But however, the biggest reason I was running it was because if I kill something with Guaiba, I can then search for Velo. That leaves 2 Guaiba in my deck. So if I draw into a Guaiba, that Guaiba can still search for the second Guaiba. However, if I grab Guaiba with this, then that leaves a Velo and a Guaiba in my deck. If I then draw into a Velo, that last Guaiba is kind of dead. It's not as good of a play as if I was to grab this, and then grab the Velo off of this effect. But this was really good for me. Made Mind Control more live in my matchups. I was able to Mind Control their dinosaur in my Rabbit matchups, and make my own Laggia and Dolkka. Mainly Dolkka in the Rabbit matchup. Dolkka's so much better in the Rabbit matchup than what people think it is. But yeah, so that was my play with Guaiba, and it really helped out a lot. It was an unusual play. It made my deck hard to side deck for because a lot of people were not expecting to see this. Next, I ran Tour Guide. A lot of people were thinking a stun deck with Tour Guide. How does that really work? The biggest thing is when I took out my Chaos monsters, my additional Chaos monsters, I still ran Blackluster Soldier. I was taking out my boss monsters. So I needed access into more boss monsters. Guaiba gave me that going into Laggia and Dolkka. However, Tour Guide gives me access into Zenmaines, Leviathan Dragon, Acid Golem, a lot of the really good rank 3s. And it was my access into more boss monsters. So Tour Guide was actually exactly what the deck needed, because this added speed where I couldn't overtake other decks, but I could keep up. And that's what a lot of the stun decks have been lacking here recently. Next, a card that Draco DMD had talked about before, Banisher. I was side decking 2 before. He made a video about this card, and I was actually looking for a couple light monsters to add into the deck at that time, so I decided to go ahead and main deck 2 of these. And you guys know I have a love-hate relationship with this card. I love this card because its effect is just so good. But I also hate this card because it's only 1600 attack and it's pretty easily dealt with. However, if they did not have a monster to get over it, they got spooked. And he got Solmn Judgmented twice on Saturday, and Solmn Warning almost every other time that I summoned him. And if my 1600 attack monster is that problematic for them that they're willing to burn their Solmn Judgment or Solmn Warning on this card, I'm okay with that. I don't need him to stick around as long as he's going to do that much damage to begin with. Next, I want to talk about Doomcaliber Knight. Again, this guy is just so good, and I don't understand why people aren't giving him the credit that he deserves. He comes out and he does exactly what I want him to do. He's a 1900 beater, and he negates the effects. And people are like, oh, well, he's easily killed by Maxx and Effect Veiler, and you're never able to really capitalize. I disagree. If you Effect Veiler this, then my tour guides are live. My Guaibas are live. I'm able to get other plays off if you spend your Effect Veiler on Doomcal. I'm okay with that. Doomcal creates problems for you, but Doomcal doesn't give me a boss monster. If this guy eats up your tour guide or eats up your Effect Veiler, then my tour guide gives me access into a boss monster. Now, last but not least, out of the main deck, I want to talk about my MVP. I main decked 2 Vanity's Emptiness, and you guys just would not believe the looks on Dino Rabbit's faces whenever they would summon Rabbit, banish, expecting an Effect Veiler on the summon, expecting Maxx on the summon, stuff like that, and then they would banish, thinking that the play was good, and I would go Vanity's Emptiness. I literally had a guy, I think it was my round 2 matchup, I flipped Vanity's Emptiness to his Rabbit, and he just kind of, picks up his extra deck, looks at the cards in his extra deck, sets it down. Okay. That was his answer to the card. Vanity's Emptiness is so good. I really wish you guys would give it more of a shot, more of a chance, because it is really good. So that was some of the cards that I played. Now I want to talk about my matchups. Before we talk about the matchups, let's just talk about what I intended on doing. My intentions for this weekend was to build a deck that answered Insectors, Wind-Ups, Chaos Dragons. I was expecting maybe some Heretic variants, but that was mainly what I was expecting to see. I was expecting to see like 60 to 65% of the meta to be Wind-Ups, Chaos Dragons, and Insectors. That didn't really turn out. It didn't really turn out exactly how I expected. What I saw the most of was Dino Rabbit, which was fine. My matchups with Dino Rabbit, if you've seen the duels on my channel from before, my matches with Dino Rabbit are okay for me, along with heroes. My game plan against them were stop the big plays, stop the Rabbit, stop the Miracle Fusions, stop those plays. Once I've done that, I'm basically just going to trade 1900 blows with you. So if I can make them play my game, I felt like I had a better shot. I felt like I had more control of the game, and I felt like I had more 1900 beaters than what they did. So if I could stop their big plays, I could win the game. That's not exactly what happened though. Round 1, I played about as well as I could. I did exactly what I wanted to do. I stopped all of his big plays. It came down to 1900 beaters, and we traded out, and he basically boiled down to he had more lances than I did, and he ends up winning on the 1900s. And the only time that he got Rabbit off, actually the only time that my round 1 or round 2 Rabbit matchups got off their Rabbits was in that first matchup, and he tributed off Rabbit, got 2 Kabazuls, and attacked for 34 when I was at 3k to win the game. So he only got Rabbit off one time during that first round match, and it won him the game. Round 2 was another Dino Rabbit. Exact same scenario. I stopped all of his Rabbit plays and just traded blows with him. And when it all boiled down to it, he had more vanillas than I had 1900 beaters. It really sucked, but that's just kind of how the game goes sometimes. Round 3, yet another Rabbit matchup. And basically the same scenario, guys. I came in with the game plan of thinking stop their big play and just trade out 1900 blows. And what had worked for me before was not working for me this weekend, or this past weekend. I still tried to do everything that I thought was right, and it wasn't working for me. I stopped their big plays and trade out 1900 beaters, and their 1900 beaters lasted longer than mine. Rounds 4, 5, and 6, my opponents did not show up, which sucked, because I'm sitting there waiting, and actually at that point I'm setting at 0-3 and was kind of looking for a reason to drop. But then my opponent doesn't show up, so I win. My opponent doesn't show up for round 5, so I win. My opponent doesn't show up for round 6, so I win again. So now I'm sitting at 3-3. No chance at really making day 2, but just kind of playing so everybody else that I already played would have better tiebreakers. Round 7, I ended up playing another Dino Rabbit guy, which sucked because that was my 4th Dino Rabbit matchup. My 4th Dino Rabbit matchup of the day. The only deck at that point that I had played was Dino Rabbit, and I ended up beating him. And again, I mean, I did what I was wanting to do. I stopped all of his Rabbit plays and traded 1900 beaters, and at that point my 1900 beaters lasted longer than his. I mean, again, I played the deck. I played against the deck the way that I wanted to. I made him play my game, and my game won that time. For whatever reason, my strategy didn't work in the first 3 rounds, but it worked that game. The next round was against Heroes, and I don't want to admit to throwing a game, just because I don't know what Konami would say about something like that, but he made plays that I could have stopped, and I was just at the point where I didn't really care. I mean, I was sitting at 4-3 at that point, and I just really didn't feel like playing anymore. I mean, as sad as that sounds, I was just kind of at that point of the day. So I ended up losing to him. I played 4 Rabbits and a Heroes, and those were the matchups that I was worried about the most, because like I said, those were the matchups that I wanted to stop their big plays and trade 1900 blows. Had I played Dragons or anything like that, I do feel like I would have had a much better report to give you guys, but unfortunately I wasn't able to play against those decks. I had to play Rabbit. Yeah, it is what it is, guys. I mean, sometimes you put together a strategy and it works for you, and sometimes you put together a strategy and you execute it as best you can and it just doesn't work for you. And that was one of those weekends. This weekend I put together a game plan. My game plan was to come into main deck 4 Insectors and Chaos Dragons, and to main deck 4 those decks that I thought I was going to see the most. And then was to stop the big play and trade 1900 beaters with Heroes and Rabbits. I was not expecting to see 4 Rabbits in a row and then a Heroes. But I mean, you got to deal with what you play, you know. I don't have control over who I play against. If I did, I obviously would have tried to play more dragons than what I did. So yeah, guys, that's how it went down for the weekend for me. I did get a bunch of stuff signed. Got to meet a lot of different people. Was really excited about some of the guys that came up to me and shook my hand and got some autographs from me. That was I felt honored to do that kind of stuff. So yeah, guys, that's how my nationals went, and I hope that you guys had a great time there if you were able to go. And just go ahead and check down below. Maybe leave me a response video on how your tournament went. I appreciate it, guys. Subscribe, comment down below, show us how much you love us.